Hi, I'm Shanna with Naturally Shanna and Cartmel Chiropractic, and welcome to my home. Today I'm going to show you how to make one of my favorite side dishes. The kids love it, my husband loves it, I love it. It's really simple, it doesn't take a long time to make, and it's one of those things that you can just kind of grab some stuff together and throw it in a pan and you've got a nice hot side dish. So let me show you what it is. We're going to start out with some organic green beans. I've already cut them into half, and then I put them into boiling water for 5 minutes, and then I don't soak them to shock them. I just put them in cold water, run cold water over it, and that shocks them to be cold, but it leaves the brightness of the coloring, and it makes just for a nice crunch when you get going. So we're going to take some freshly prepared green beans. We are going to use a little bit of old style mustard. Now this is what I had on me, but typically I'll use Dijon mustard, but I didn't have any in my refrigerator, so next time. And then you can use garlic. Now I wouldn't use fresh garlic for this one just because the flavor won't come through fast enough. So I use standard process garlic powder. You can use any garlic powder that you have, but what I like about this is that it stays fresh. And I'll just open up 2 capsules and put it in, and it will give you all of the nutritional value of fresh garlic without having it just be sitting. There's not a whole lot of nutritional components when you buy the big tub of garlic because it just sits out and it just goes away. But so we'll have these for fresh, and then we'll use a little bit of butter. You can use oil if you want, but there's nothing like a good buttery vegetable. And so I'm using Kerrygold, but any good butter that you have. The thing about using good butter, either organic butter or grass-fed butter, is that butter is a fat and toxins live in fat. So if you're buying just conventional butter from the grocery store, I know that it's a lot cheaper, but it's also not going to be the most healthful that you can find. So spend a little bit more money, buy either Kerrygold for being grass-fed, or buy your organic butters, and have a little bit more of a healthful meal involved in that. And then traditionally when I make this meal, I use thyme, fresh thyme, but I didn't have any again. So it's one of these recipes that you can just throw together what you have, and we have rosemary growing in our backyard, so we're going to use a little bit of rosemary today and just impart a little bit of the fresh herbs to the dish. So what we'll do to get started is we will take our butter and we will start to melt it in a pan. Now I like dishes that can be used with one pot, and this is one of those. So I used this size pot to boil them in, and then I just poured it out, and then I'm going to use it again for the to heat the rest of the dish. So it doesn't have to be too hot. I'm going to turn this a little bit so you can see as I'm going. It doesn't have to be too hot of a pan, so don't throw it on like medium or medium high. Just a nice low to medium is all that you're going to need. So first what we're going to do is take, and I'll do about 1/3 of a cube of butter. And we'll let that start to melt. And then once it melts, I'm going to throw in the garlic powder. But in the meantime, what I'll do is I'll take my thyme and chop it up. Now, do you have scissors like these? These are awesome. They're herb strippers. And so what you do is you just take your rosemary and you put it in like this, and then you close it down and you go this way, and it just pulls everything off right into my bowl for me. Hello. Okay, so normally you wouldn't be doing it up high like that, but it just pulls everything off. And you can do it yourself by just running your fingers, but these are a handy dandy tool, and I have them, so I might as well use them. When Greg and I were first married, I'll show you what it's like if you don't have this tool. So you just grab it and you go along the opposite. So you just grab your herbs like this, grab a nice grip, and then just pull, and it comes right off. When my husband Greg and I were first married, I didn't cook at all, and so but we were both a little bit older, and so we had already lived on our own, and we had pretty much 2 houses full of things, so the only thing that we needed was really kitchen stuff. So we registered at Williams-Sonoma and got a lot of things, but I still didn't cook much. So for many years when we were first married, we had great tools in the kitchen, but I didn't use any of them. So then what you're gonna do, I'm gonna tilt this down a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay. So the butter is just melting. And if you let butter melt slow enough but get hot enough, it'll start to turn a little bit of a light brown. That's good. It's just browning the butter, and that'll give a nice nutty flavor to it. And then in the meantime, I'm going to take, let me get this little branch out of here. I'm going to take this and I'm just going to finely mince it. Okay, so you don't have to be like an amazing chef to make great meals in the kitchen. I think we have such an opportunity now with the internet being our best friend and social media that it's easy to find great recipes and like this one, and hopefully you can put it into your repertoire of things that you make for your family. So I'm just going to make this a hair smaller. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Make sure that your butter isn't going too much. So I'm going to take this off the flame and pour the rosemary into it. And then I'm going to, I'll turn this so you can see. If you see anything messy in my kitchen, don't mind it. And then I'm going to take the garlic. And then I'm going to take the mustard. And I'll just do kind of 2 kind of heaping teaspoons. And then just start to stir it up. Okay. So I took it off the heat to keep the butter from continuing to bubble and get more brown. And then sometimes when you put fresh herbs in and the butter's really hot, and then it's gonna soften up the herbs really quickly, and I didn't want to do that too quickly. So I just pull it off the burner, and then I'll add it back on to heat it back up again. And then once you get this stirring, oh my gosh, I wish you could smell my kitchen right now. Okay, then I'm going to take the green beans. Now I normally cook about twice. Some garlic. I normally cook about twice this many, but this is all that I had left over. So I decided to just cook it up, and then I used less of the ingredients when I was making it. The picture of Brussels sprouts that I posted on Instagram is actually cooking in the oven right now, so that's the beeping that you hear in the background. So don't mind it, I'm just making some good food for the week. Okay, so once you get this kind of going around and everything is well coated, you're just gonna put it down to low. And then if you have other things that you need to do, just pop a lid on it for 2 minutes, just so it heats the beans back up. And so you can pull things out of the oven if you need to. All right, so I'm gonna let that happen. We have one more ingredient that's gonna go into the oven and or into the pan in a minute, and then we will have our dish ready to go. So hold tight, let me grab those Brussels sprouts out of the oven. And you can see me working in the midst of everything. Okay. Okay, so I guess while you're here, I'll just show you. So I like a good roasted Brussels sprout, and so when I cut them, I take some of the leaves off of them, the little Brussels leaves, and I just lay them on. So it kind of chars them as they're cooking, but it makes for a really flavorful dish. So if you're not a fan of Brussels sprouts, I'll have the recipe in with the picture on Instagram, and then you can try them for yourself. Okay, so I'm just gonna let those cool for a little bit now that that's done. And then this has been heating up. And then our final ingredient for the green beans is slivered almonds. Turn this a little bit. Slivered almonds. And so you can measure if you want, but in cooking sometimes eyeball things. So I reach in, I love almonds, so I just take about a big handful. You can go ahead and turn the burner off now. Don't mind my dirty dishes in the sink if you can see them. Okay, so let's see, I did about a handful. I really like almonds. We really like almonds in our house, and we tend to pick through the bowl to make sure that we get enough. So I'm heavy-handed when it comes to adding the almonds. Okay, that looks to be good enough. Okay, so that is heated through and through. Those look really good. I'm gonna plate this up, and then I'm gonna show you there's gonna be one other ingredient for the Brussels sprouts that isn't in the picture that I'm gonna add in. So we'll take the spatula. Just put these into the bowl. We're having this for dinner tonight, so I'm gonna serve this up hot. And then normally what I do is I will use a little bit more of the Parmesan cheese that I have. Waste not, want not, so make sure we get it all in. So I line almost all of my pans when I'm baking with parchment paper. I know that there's some controversy about parchment paper, but I will tell you that parchment paper is oodles and oodles and oodles better and healthier for you than using aluminum foil. So we stick with that in our family. And then the last and final ingredient that I use for my Brussels sprouts, let me turn this, sorry, is nutritional yeast. This actually has a really cheesy flavor to it. So even though I cooked with the fresh grated Parmesan cheese, when it's done and I pull it out and I put it in the pan, I just add a little bit of the nutritional yeast to it. So if you like to control how much goes into things, then you can just palm it and then just kind of sprinkle it. This is one of those great ingredients that if you don't tell your family that you put it in there, they won't know the difference. And I'm not one for doing like deceptive cooking or not telling your kids or hiding things in there and then not explaining it. I want my daughter to know everything that she's eating because I want her to build a love for it. But this is one of those ingredients that you can just kind of add it to it and people don't really realize it, but it's in there. Okay, so that is the Brussels sprouts. That is in the Facebook photo or the Instagram photo, depending on where you're following. And the recipe is in the comments. So this is a great side dish to have for your family as well. And then the beans. Are ready as well. It's Sunday today, and so we went to church this morning, and then we went out to get brunch afterwards, and then we went and looked at some shops and came home, and then we had my husband Greg and my daughter Clara were on the back patio eating some peanuts, and Greg's father passed away recently, for those of you that don't know him, and one of his favorite things to do, or their thing to do when they were younger, was to crack open some peanuts, watch wrestling, and drink a pop back in the day. And so he passed recently, and one of the ways that Greg has been thinking about him or honoring him lately has been to just eat some peanuts, go sit on the patio and have a handful of them. But today we had a visitor, a squirrel came up and was taking the peanuts right out of Greg's hand, my hand, and eating them off the floor, so it was just kind of a fun little experience. And then Greg and Clara went to the park to give Mama a break. Thank you, Jesus. And so I thought, well, this is a good opportunity for me to cook up some stuff. So this is the green bean dish for you. And I'll tell you, it's fabulous. The smell, if you could jump through, it's just a hint of rosemary, a hint of old mustard, and you can smell the nuttiness of the butter. So I promise you that if you try my green beans and you try the Brussels sprouts, you will not be unsatisfied. So thank you for watching. This is the first of many videos that I hope to do showing you my kitchen and things that I like to make and prepare for my family, and hopefully it will become a favorite of yours as well. So keep watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe and join my group following, and make sure to comment so I know that you want to see more of these. Otherwise, in my brain, I think, nobody's interested, I won't make any more. So if you're interested, please let me know, and I'll keep going and showing you the things that I like to prepare for my family. Enjoy your night. Happy Sunday.